Welcome to Toronto Real Estate Street Talk with Riyaz Rauf. I'm here today to present to you the market figures for GTA and TRED for the month of February. So let's move on and see how it worked out, and I would also give you in brief how the market performed overall, and then I will try to break it down to the 5 regions and also 4 category of properties, and also talk of where the market is, whether it's in balance, sellers or the buyer's market. So without further ado, let's go into the numbers. Now let's start looking at the average price for the month of February. We reached 1,108,720 as an average price, and that's a 8% increase from the average price of January 2024. Now, it's also a 1.2% increase from the month of February in 2023. So, year over year, we had a 1.2% increase, and month over month, we had a 8% increase in the value of a property. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to volumes, this is where we made a lot of gains. We did 5,607 transactions. Month over month, it was a 32% appreciation, and year over year, it was a 17.2% appreciation. Friends, it has been an awesome month for recovery and coming back to the market in terms of real estate, and more so in terms of freehold. However, I just want to also mention and remind you 2 factors that contributed mainly for this. Actually, 1 factor, that's the weather. In February, we had awesome weather. We generally think of the spring market to start after the 15th of March. But however, this year the spring market started right from February 1st because the weather was so good. We had 4 weekends of brilliant weather, sometimes over 7 or even up to about one day was 19. So these also contributed to the market bouncing back faster. What we expected in March happened in February. Another factor to remember is it was a leap year, so we had 29 days for this month compared to last year's 28. Now let's look at how the detached market performed for February. The detached market average price for the month of February was 1,443,612. Now, it was a month over month increase or appreciation of 6.9%. In other words, from January to February, the prices increased, average price increased by 7%, almost 7%. If we were to take this over year, it was an appreciation of 0.3% year over year appreciation. Now, when we look at the number of transactions that were done, we are looking at 43% increase from January to February. That's a huge increase in the number of transactions that we did. And if we look at it from year over year, we did 20.2%. But having told that last year was not the greatest year in terms of turnover in the inventory and the resale market. So we got a 20.2% increase in the detached market. Now let's look at the semi-detached market. Semi-detached, the average price is 1,123,896. The average increase month over month was 8.2%, and the increase year over year was 5.1%. These are significant increases. However, when we look at the turnover, we had 463 transactions, 35% increase over the previous month, and 16% increase over last year. Now, let's look at townhomes. And I have to correct something here. In terms of townhomes, here the average price increase, this is an error. It should be 934,154. And the price increase was 0.1% compared to last year. And so the volume increase month over month was 1%, and there is an error in the townhome figures that is being presented. So I'm correcting it here right away before we go further. Now, we have spoken about the freehold market, which is a detached, semi-detached, and the townhomes put together. Let's see how it performed in the regions. 5 regions, all 5 regions saw at least 20% increase in February over last year. Now let's look at Durham. In February, in terms of volume, we had a 36% increase. In terms of price, we had a 3% increase. And in terms of new listings, we had a 36% increase. This is interesting. In terms of month of inventory that we have in the market, at the moment we have 1.4 compared to 1.5 last year. Month of inventory means if we have between 1 to 4 months of inventory, we basically says you are in the seller's market, because the sellers are benefiting with a huge demand for properties. If we are between 4 to 6 months, we call that a balanced market, where the territory is balanced between the buyers and the sellers. Inventory anything more than 6 months is basically in the buyer's market, because buyers can bargain more and buy any inventory because there's a huge inventory in the market. Here, what it says is, if we don't get any new property in Pickering in 1.4 months, or in other words, in 6 weeks, we will sell out the entire inventory that we have. That's in terms of Pickering. Then look at Halton. We have a sales volume increase of 25% and a price increase of 9%. That's a huge jump compared to all other regions. And we had a new listings of 27% increase, and the inventory is unchanged between last year this month and this year at 1.8 months of inventory in the market. Let's look at Peel. Change in sales volume was 24% plus, and the price increase was 1%. New listings are 39%. The months of inventory still stays at 2.1% compared to last year. Toronto, we have a volume increase of 25%, price increase, or rather a decrease of 0.4%, and new listings increased by 24%, and the month of inventory is 2. In other words, in Toronto, if we don't add any new inventory, all what we have will get sold in 2 months. York region, interestingly, we had a change of 26% increase in sales, 1% increase in price, average price. These are year over year figures. And then we had new listings 44% up compared to last year. And we have, for the first time here, what we are seeing is 2.3%, a slight increase in inventory compared to last year. So in this chart, if you look at the highest gain in terms of price was in Halton region, and the only place where we had a decline in price is 4% in Toronto. And let's remember, in Toronto, we are also looking at a lot of condos being there. This figure is looking at only the freeholds. Now let's go into the condo market. When we look at the condos, the average price of a condo is 965,000, which is a 2% increase month over month compared to January, and it's a 1.4% decrease compared to last year. The number of transactions were 1,586, 18.8% increase in the volume of transactions compared to January. But compared to year over year, we had a 9% increase in the volume of trade. Now let's look at what the inventory tells us. Durham region, 6% up by sales, 5% up in prices, new listings up by 16%, and the inventory also increased by 2.1%. In Durham, I know primarily because I also live in Durham, it's also some of the new condos that are coming into the market and coming into the selling listings for sale. Halton, 34% increase in sales, 9% decline in the prices, and the new listings increased by 55% and 2.7% of the inventory, slightly higher than what it used to be last year, still below the 3% or the 4% mark, and still in a seller's market. Peel region, volume increased by 38%, price increased by 3%, new listing increased by 49%, and month of inventory stays unchanged between last year and this year at 2.6. Toronto, 1,148 units or 15% more than last year got sold. The average price is 742,660. No change in the average price, hardly any. And the new inventory went up by 32%, and the month of inventory is 3.7%, 0.7% more than the previous year. Now, when you look at Toronto, mostly downtown, and we are looking at inventory build-up here of 3.7 compared to last year's 3, that's a high build-up. So I expect Toronto, primarily downtown, real estate condo prices to be stable for a few more months to come. York, on the other hand, had a 16% increase in volume, 4% increase in prices, 33% inventory, new inventory that came up, 2.8 months of inventory. Now, if you go by inventory is basically showing the demand and supply for them. I find Toronto to have slightly higher inventory. And also remember, when we give as average, when we give the inventory, we might give Toronto, GTA has inventory of 3 plus, but on the other hand, remember, bulk of these figures are coming from Toronto. Durham is 107, Halton is 176, 339, 273, but Toronto takes a majority share. So the figures are driven by Toronto's figures. So let's be aware of that when we speak about these figures. So I would leave you at this stage with these numbers, and basically I would say we had a good month of February, and going forward in March so far we have had a robust market in the freehold sector because we had the interest rate pause again in March on the 6th, and we are looking forward to the next interest rate announcement on the 10th of April. All indications are we are going to pause that too, probably because US is doing so well, and we may not make any changes until US sets the trend by the first policy rate cut. However, I think in June they have no choice but to have one, because our economy is bleeding and we have to get that done, is my view. On the other hand, if you think this content is of interest to you, please subscribe, because we always like to increase our subscribers to a good number. At the meantime, share it with your friends and colleagues if they are interested in this. Please reach out with your real estate needs, and we'll guide you, explain to you and advise you what you have to do with regards to buying, selling or investing in terms of your situation and your current position, and whether you are a newcomer, an investor or a resale person who is involved. Thank you very much to investing your time with us, and once again, have a great weekend. Thank you, Riyaz.